This video will go over MAT 300 Module 7 practice test. If you have any questions, please let me know. Alright, number 1 says solve the given system by graphing. Alright, so there's a couple things you can do. You can pick points and then kind of do that, but I like to put them in slope-intercept form because then you have your slope and you have your intercept and it makes it quite easy to graph them. So that just means I'm going to solve for y. Alright, so there's my two slope-intercept form equations, so I'm going to go to the -10 and then up 7 over 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, and then I'm going to draw my line. Then here I go to -2 and then down 1 over 2. So down 1 over 2. And there's my other. And then where they cross is our answer. So we have 2, -3 is our answer to that. Alright, number 2, decide whether the given ordered pair is a solution of the given system. 1, 4. So what you're doing is just plugging that into the equations given, and if it's true, it's a solution. If not, it's not. So if this is true, it should equal 12. And then if this one is true, it should equal -18. So 2 times 1 is 2. 2 plus 12 is 14. So that does not equal. I really don't have to go on, but this one equals 18, so it doesn't equal. So this is not a solution. It has to be true for both of them to be a solution. Alright, number 3, what is the solution set of the system 3x plus y equals 6, 2x plus 2y equals 8? They really didn't give you a way to have to do it, so I'm going to do the elimination or the addition method, and that's where I'm going to eliminate one of my variables. So I'm going to times my first equation by -2, so I'm just going to write it under this one. Alright, so that one is now this one, and then go from there. That canceled out that one, so I get x is 1 for this, and then to find my y I can just plug it back into an original equation. And I get 3 for my second. So my answer is 1 and 3. For no solution, your variables would cancel out and then what's left would not equal. So you would have something like 6 equals 8. For infinite many solutions, if your variables cancel out and what's left is true, then it's infinite. So if it said like everything is canceled out and it's 0 equals 0 or 8 equals 8 or whatever, then it would be infinite many solutions. Alright, number 4, substitution method. So they already got a variable down, so we can just plug that right in where we see y. And then simplify it. So I get 5 for x, and if we just plug that into an original equation, we can get our y. So I get 1. So we get 5 and 1. Substitution again. I'm going to use my second one. I'm going to plug that into my first. and I get -2 for my x value, and then I'll plug it back into the original equation and find my y. I did that so I wouldn't lose it. And I get 1. So -2 and 1. And make sure this is your x and your y when you write them as an ordered pair. Alright, number 6. Solve by the addition method. So I try to find ones that are easily relatable. Both of them are. So I'm just going to multiply my top one by -3 so we can cancel out our bottom. I'm just going to rewrite it underneath here. So this one's gone now. Gone. 868. I get 12. Then plug that back into my original equation. Now when you're doing your test, if you want to know if they're correct, you can plug both of them back in and they should be true. It would be just like the first page where you were finding a solution or not. So I get 8. Just for the matter of time, I'm not plugging them back in. But normally I would say plug them back in, make sure they work. So 8 and 12 is my answers. Addition method again. I'm going to times everything by -2. So I'm going to rewrite this one down here. Alright, and this is very similar to what we were just talking about. This would cancel out, this would cancel out, so on this side we're left with nothing. This cancels out, left nothing. So your answer is not 0. If everything cancels out and you're left with 0 equals 0, then it's infinite solutions. Alright, number 8. You invested $4,200 between two accounts paying 5 and 6 annual interest respectively. If the total interest earned for the year was $232, how much was invested at each rate? Remember to label variables, state equations, blah 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 blah. Alright, so that's where we're going to start. X and Y. We're going to call X 5% and Y is 6%. So I know the money that I gave for X and the money I gave for Y. The two together equaled $4,200. I also know that the interest that I got off for the 5% plus the interest that I got off of the Y, the 6%, was $232. So you can solve your system however you want. I think the easiest way on this one is by substitution because we have a pretty simple equation in the top. It's just a lot of calculator work, but calculators are doing the work, so that's okay. And then I divide them out, I get 2,000. So that means that my 5%, I get 2,000. And then to find my 6%, I can go back here and plug it back in. So 4,200 take away 2,000 gives me a simple answer. So that's $2,200. So on these kind, you need two equations with x and y's. Just make sure that you define your variables so that when you get done, you know exactly what you solved for. Alright, number 9, 1 Snickers bar, 2 Reese cups contain 540 calories, 2 Snicker bars and 1 Reese cup contain 570. How many calories in each type? So we're going to call X Snickers and Y Reese's. So we're going to read our first sentence. So 1 Snickers and 2 Reese Cups is a 540 calories. 2 Snickers and 1 Reese Cup is 570. And I'm going to do addition. Sorry, I was trying to do that in my head. Alright, and then that's gone. So I found that my Reese Cup is 170. And then if the 2, I can just plug it back in this formula. So we have x plus 2 times 170 equals 540. So I get 200 calories for my Snicker bar. Alright, number 10. Tickets for a touring production of Sweeney Todd cost $90. For orchestra, $60 for balcony. You purchased 9 tickets, some of the orchestra and some of the balcony, for a total cost of $720. How many orchestra, how many balconies were purchased? Alright, so we're going to be X is our orchestra, and Y is our balcony. Alright, so we know that we purchased 9 tickets, so that's where I'm starting. In some combination, I got some orchestra and some balcony. And then we're going to involve the money. So $90 is orchestra, $60 is balcony, and we know we spent $720. We can do elimination. So I got 6 for my orchestra. If I purchase 9 altogether, then I know 3 of them are for balcony. So this is 6 seats. Alright, number 11, graph the inequality. So I like to put them into slope-intercept form. I'm dividing by -2, so I'm flipping my sign. Alright, so I'm going to start at the -2, and I'm going to go up 1 and over 2. Now this is a dotted line, since it doesn't have or equal to. And I'm a horrible straight line drawer. And then we need to always shade when you do inequalities, so it has to be less than this. So this down here is what's shaded. This would be greater, this would be less. Alright, number 2. So y is greater than -2. So I go to my y and I put a dot. Now anywhere along here is where that line is, and it is a solid line since it's greater than or equal to. It is greater than, so we're going to shade the top part. That was a fast page. Alright, number 13. So I'm going to put these both in y-intercept form first. So if you have questions on this part, feel free to ask, you know, why did you do that? Just, I'm assuming at this point you're just checking your work and you may know what I'm doing, so. Alright, so we're going to start at the -1. We're going to go up 1 over 1. And then this is a solid line. And this one we're going to start at the 4. And we're going to go down 2 and over 3. And this is a solid line. And our solution is where they meet. So in this case, it's 3, 2. But I guess I didn't ask about that. So now we need to shade. So if I look at my first one, this was my first line. It said greater than, so that meant this. And on this line, it said greater than, which would be this. So the only two places that it is shaded in both spots is right there. But it didn't ask for the where they cross, so ignore that. Alright, number 14. Graph the solution set of the system inequality. So we have 3. I'm going to make this one into slope-intercept form first. So I'm going to start at -2 and go up 1 over 1. And that's a solid line. And this is greater than, so at this point, that's what we're looking at. Alright, the second one says x is greater than -2. So we go to the -2, and it is a solid line. So here we're going. And it says greater than, so right now, that guy is out of the running. But it can also be here too. Alright, and then the last one is y is less than 3, sorry. So here's our 3. It's a solid line. And it has to be less than, so our shaded area will be here. If it's too hard for you to do it that way, you can also pick a point in any of the sections, and this one would take a while. I always start with 0, 0, as long as the line doesn't go through it. And you plug it in, and then you see if your equations are true. So I plugged all the zeros in for the x's and y's. So this is 0 is less than 2, that works. 0 is greater than -2, that works. 0 is less than 3, that works. So that means you would shade that region. Alright, number 15, is the following relation a function? Explain. So just remember, to be a function, the same x values can't have different y values. So if I just look through here, -1, 0, 2, and 0, well, here's 2 zeros, and they have 2 y's that are different. So the answer is no. And we have different range for same domain, or however you want to put that. Alright, number 16, give the domain and range of the following relation. So our domain, remember this is our x values, range is y values. So this is 8, 2, -1, and 3, -3, sorry. And your y's is 3, 4, 7, and 1. Alright, 17, if f of x equals x squared minus 4x, find f of a plus 5. So that means everywhere I see an x, I'm going to put a plus 5. Most of the time when somebody misses this, it's because they didn't do this part correctly. So remember, this just means a FOIL problem. Don't square this and square this and call it the end of the day. It won't work. and then I'll distribute my negative 4. And then we can combine our like terms. So we have 5a, that's 10a, 10 take away 4, that's positive 6. I have a positive 25, and take away 20, so that's a positive 5. So our answer is a squared plus 6a plus 5. Number 18 is the following relation a function. And this is the answer of no, and that's because it fails the vertical line test. If I can draw a vertical line and I hit more than once, it is not a function. So it has, for the same x values, it has 2 y values, which is what the domain and range in the previous problem was trying to say. Alright, use the graph of f to find the following, f of 0. So this means our x is 0, what would our answer be? So if I go to 0, I go up to where it hits, I see the answer is 4. For what value of x is f of x equal negative 4? So this means our y is negative 4. So if I go to negative 4, then I go across till I hit, and then what was my x value? It is 4. Use either set builder or interval notation. So the domain of f, I guess we're talking about this over here. So remember, domain is x, range is y. So let's look at our x values. So excuse me. If I look at my graph, this goes on forever and ever and ever and ever. And then this side goes on forever and ever and ever. So my domain is actually negative infinity to infinity. Now my y is here to the highest point, which is here. So here we're going to start with negative 4, which it includes, and then it goes on forever. Alright, number 21, express the interval and set builder notation in a graph. Alright, so this says that the lowest it can be is negative 8, and the highest it can be is 8. I'm sorry, negative infinity, the highest it can be is 8, and it doesn't include it. So if we put 8 on our graph, we know we're going to put a parenthesis here, and then it's going to go down this direction to negative infinity. Now when we write this in set builder notation, we always do that first, and then you tell it what the x values fall between. Well, if infinity is 1, like normally we could do like something like this and put a number here and a number here, but since infinity is one of these answers, then we just let them know that it can't be any greater than 8. If this was a bracket here, then we would have put the less than or equal to. Alright, number 22, if h of x is 4x squared minus 3x plus 6, then h of negative 2 is. So we're just going to go through and plug in negative 2. Negative 2 squares 4. 16 plus 6 plus 6. So I get 28. So my answer is A. (23) The domain of the function is, so remember domain is y, so we're looking from the lowest to the highest. So the lowest here it can be is negative 4, and the highest this can be, oh my gosh, I just said, okay, this is x value, sorry, your domain. I read range. Alright, so it's on this way. So the farthest it can go this direction, the farthest it can go in this direction. So here it stops, it looks like -5, and there's a solid circle. So that's what we see on that side. And on this side it stops at 5 and it's a solid circle. So we're looking for -5 and 5, which the answer is D. 24, what's the solution of the system equation? So choose your way that you would like. I'm going to do the addition. I'm going to multiply everything by 3. Alright, that cancels out, and that cancels out, so there's nothing left on this side. And on this side, we're left with -5. So this is one of those circumstances where this is not a true statement. When that happens, there is no solution, so the answer to this is B. And then 25, we're finding f of -1. So -1 squared is 1. So the top is 2 times 1 minus 3, so that's -1 for the top. And this is a negative, which makes a positive, so 1 take away 4 is -3. 2 negatives cancel out. Our final answer is 1/3. So if you have any questions, please let me know.